It was quite a lasting impression. The Prime Minister standing there with that board. Lisa Daftari is with us. Many journalists and Fox News contributor follows Iran very closely. So we have to wait for another week till we hear from the Prime Minister of Israel again. But tomorrow we hear from the President. And I just got into the newsroom a bipartisan letter from two top senators that are urging the President to take a really tough stand against Iran. What would that even look like?
A tough stand would be just realizing that the reality of the situation and really looking at the complete picture, and not just this past week where Rouhani and the Iranian regime are softening their stance and offering us this olive branch. Let's look at the entire picture, and not just the last 34 years, but just right now, at this moment. You have Iranian involvement in Syria, the same Syrian regime that we're standing up to, but meanwhile we're allowing them to march into New York. We want to possibly sit down with them. Are they still not the world's largest exporter of terror? Are they still not hanging their own people?
What do you say to people that say, well, you always have to give diplomacy another chance?
We've given them several chances. And if diplomacy and another chance was the way out, then we would have already had a solution to this. Now, we've seen this pattern repeated. And what the Iranian regime is setting to do is play out the clock, loosen the sanctions. Now, Rouhani, this president who's a self-proclaimed moderate, was elected and they propped him up and elected by a lot of the young people in Iran because he did offer that chance, as you're saying. But again, he ran his entire campaign on relieving the economic situation in Iran, and that's exactly what he's setting out to do.
It's interesting to take into consideration the last couple of weeks, as you mentioned. First, you have some interesting comments from the Iranian regime on Twitter, whether it was for the Jewish holidays, whether it was on Facebook, whether it was taken down. Then there was all the confusion about whether it was real or not. Then you have the op-ed piece in the Washington Post. You also have a sit-down interview with NBC News. So this has been carefully crafted to lead up into this moment. What do you think Rouhani is going to say tomorrow to the world?
Right, and he's coming here to, again, he's going to keep trying. He's going to be extremely persistent because at the end of the day, they're just words. There has to be action, and action means get out of Syria, stop enriching uranium. And a good way to really understand the entire picture is to look at a lot of what the Iranian media inside Iran is reporting.
And what are they saying?
Where he is, thumping his chest and saying, I'm going to stand up to the U.S. I'm going to continue enriching uranium. No one can tell us what to do. And what a lot of people inside the country, inside Iran, believe that he's doing is to come here with these soft words, the idea of diplomacy, but then wait to see what the U.S. is going to offer him. And again, it will come down to the economy and to the loosening of sanctions.
We are looking through our own glasses at the world, and when we think of the president of Iran, we think about the leader, Rouhani. But there's also an interesting dynamic of leadership inside the country as well. And I was reading this article from David Ignatius in the Washington Post, where he says a deal with Rouhani that isn't fully backed by Quds Force leader Qasem Soleimani would be a dangerous delusion. We don't hear a lot. You don't hear the last name Soleimani at all. And this is a picture. We have very, very few pictures that are even publicly shown of this man. Who is he? Why does he matter?
Right, and I really applaud you, Jennifer, even doing this segment and bringing up this guy, because he's never talked about, and the idea, again, connecting the dots here. It's not just Rouhani. There's a supreme leader in Iran who handles everything, Rouhani being just a puppet. And even more importantly, we have the Revolutionary Guard in Iran, who has really been the puppeteer since the days of the Islamic Revolution 34 years ago. The Quds Force is an elite part of the Revolutionary Guard in Iran, and this group was created just to export the ideological war that the Iranian regime has. They're the ones running the show in Syria. They're the ones who created Hezbollah. They are the ones who are in Latin America.
Does Rouhani have any power over them?
Rouhani is part of the system. We can't look at Rouhani as this moderate crusader who is now trying to, bring this moderate face to. He's been part of the regime for the last 30 or plus more years. He was a nuclear negotiator. I mean, he's part of the system, and there's no reason to believe that other than the term or the label of moderate, that he's going to offer anything else.
We're going to rely heavily on your work over the next week. Lisa, thank you very much. It's great to have you on the program, and we'll watch what he has to say tomorrow.